Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the MAG Show. And I'm here. My name's David Butler. I am the co-founder of the ManstonOnAir Group. And with me, I also have the co-founder, Mr. Daniel Richardson.
Yep, I need some applause in the...
This is the first episode of the MAG Show. First of many, we hope. We hope we could be able to do this for every month, the following months. We have been doing these monthly videos in and out. We've been taking it in turns. But if we can put our heads together and really put like a personal touch on it, then maybe we can make a fist of it, you know. The idea was, let's be honest, we got this idea from Linus Tech Tips, the WAN show. And maybe we won't go on for 4 hours, but I think we can find something to talk about for perhaps an hour every month or so.
I only have 2.5 hours before I have to be driving to Abu Dhabi to fly to Alexandria. So.
Well, chin chin. I'll drink to that.
You guys, yeah, chin chin. This for the record, this is water. I just want to put that
non-alcoholic
out there
water.
Very non-alcoholic. Not had a drink in a couple of days. It's been depressing.
Cheers,
okay, chaps.
Gary.
So I am going to start with a little bit of an update about ManstonOnAir Group, or MAG. So as you know, we have our three two daughter companies in the main ManstonOnAir. Obviously, we have Verona and we have StratusJet. We love them all dearly, but of course, Verona was the OG one, which is what I see most people are flying. Every now and again, I'll chuck a little StratusJet in there, James as well, and Hayden when he wants to fly out of old Bristol. Ooh. So yeah, so we're going to be talking about all three today. But the first things first, something really exciting. For those of you who are on Microsoft Flight Simulator, you will know about a traffic add-on called FSLTL. Now, FSLTL is being distributed by the Fly-by-Wire team, and it's essentially a free traffic add-on for Microsoft Flight Simulator for everyone to use. Now, if you are a partner or associate airline with VATSIM, you have the ability to submit your liveries to VATSIM for upload into FSLTL, which means that anyone who has FSLTL, whether if we fly around on VATSIM or whatever, they'll be able to see the beautiful Invictus swooping in over them and absolutely slamming into the runway, Ryanair style. So I got an email from VATSIM the other day saying that in the very next update of the FSLTL library, that the Manstonair liveries will be included. We have to register StratusJet and Verona so far, and then the liveries for those two VAs will become available as well. But for now, ManstonOnAir liveries will be available for everybody in FSLTL. This is all completely free of charge, and we're really looking forward to seeing it, because right now we're using the online multiplayer features of Microsoft Flight Simulator to sort of be able to see each other in the MAG liveries. You'll probably see Dave, Matt, and I flew a few weeks ago to Innsbruck, and that was on the online. So now having it with slightly better performing models and freely available for everyone is going to be amazing.
That's
and
absolutely
all
right.
of the paints have been uploaded. I can tell you that the liveries coming are the 737-700. We have the 777F, the 777-200LR, the 777-300ER, the 787-9, the 777-800 blended winglets, split skinny boys, the 777-800 freighter, and the 777-900 Gimme Boys. Unfortunately, there was no 600 paint kit available at the time, and I'm still going to keep trying to download that so we can get the 600 in, because it's quite a popular aircraft with our members. So to get that in would be really nice. So that's number one. So good news.
Yeah, and
Secondly,
obviously I will need to follow up with that. We have, as you mentioned, intimated that we've successfully managed to do that for ManstonOnAir. That doesn't include the ManstonOnAir group because they only limit us to a number of liveries. I don't know how many it is, but 10. So we need to do the same for Verona and for Stratusjet, and we're going to play a little bit of a game here with VATSIM by applying through different aliases. So Daniel has applied for ManstonOnAir. I will apply, I think, very soon for Verona and or Stratusjet, one of the two. I think Stratusjet you asked me to do. And then soon after that, we'll have to get someone else to do the last one. And of course, there's a question mark. I don't think we'll do it for Altis, but Altis still remains a partner airline of Stratusjet, so
look,
it's there.
To be really honest with the Altis stuff,
Yeah,
I think it could be included under Stratusjet, under
correct.
those liveries, just
because they use the
in.
same call sign and flight numbers anyway.
Exactly.
So on the side of the aircraft says in partnership with Stratusjet or in partnership with Altis.
So I'll give the Altis stuff a shot.
Okay.
If Harry gives us permission, because Harry is still running Altis. So,
yes.
Yeah. Okay. So you were going to speak?
No, I was just going to say, I want to be nice about, kind about VATSIM in public. We love you very much, VATSIM, and we would never do anything wrong to hurt you. But they are a big organisation to deal with, and I'll probably just leave it at that.
Yes, yes. Okay, so second, those of you, again, on Microsoft Flight Simulator, which I believe is a significant portion of us, will know that we have recently brought the ATR 72 and 42 into the fleet. Now, with some updates, the aircraft is actually quite nice, actually. But it's so slow. My God, we were planning to put it out of Lid to operate sort of some short routes. The longest one being La Rochelle, and I'm almost rethinking La Rochelle. Sort of Jersey, Guernsey, that sort of area, Isle of Man, that's fine. But La Rochelle is gonna take some time to fly. I mean, I flew to Quimper.
In your best French accent.
Yeah, I flew to Quimper,
Quimper,
and it was an hour and 14 minutes flying to Quimper.
What's the sort of ground speed you expect on this bad boy?
So the ATR, it's supposed to cruise at like 240 knots, but it doesn't get there.
Right.
If you leave, so you're supposed to leave it in notch and then change the power setting on the forward dashboard, but it just doesn't. It doesn't get there. You have to slam the throttle and it goes into the
it's basically a big caravan.
It's a big caravan, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Now that doesn't mean that the ATR is going to be leaving the fleet, because it's not. No. I quite like the ATR. I think it is a fantastic aeroplane.
It looks
good.
But
I think it does. But I think it's for ManstonOnAir at least. It does need to stay sort of within an hour's radius. Otherwise, you're going to get a bit bored. So regarding that, the plan is Lid is going to be opened up as a summer seasonal base. That's going to be on the ATR 42. Some of the routes that are coming in from Lid, if I can just bring up. Okay, so we're looking at Jersey, Isle of Man, Humberside, Edinburgh, Exeter, Ken, however you pronounce it, Lille,
Cairn. Yeah.
and Ken, uh, and Rotterdam, and still La Rochelle is in the system, but we haven't quite. Well, that one, because of the flight time, it's I'm questioning it a little bit. Let me know, guys, if you think it might be nice to add in, or if we should just sort of look for something else. For reference, as I was saying, with Quimper, it was an hour and 15 minutes. And Brest, which is on the MAG network from Manston, is 50 minutes flight, literally block to block, 50 minutes. So it's roughly in about the same place. And yeah. So let me know, guys, if you think we should look into something shorter for the ATR, or if maybe we should sort of abandon some of these routes altogether. But as I say, for now, the ATR is staying, and in fact, we are planning to introduce it into both Verona and Stratusjet. Now, Verona, I feel like it's going to be fantastic for flying into some of these smaller strips around Africa. As of right now, we have a few domestic routes in Madagascar and Kenya, but the smallest aeroplane we have there is a 737-600, and some of the airports are not designed for a jet. So I think the ATR is going to be fantastic for Verona. Let me see if I have. Okay, so I have the Stratusjet
The thing
ones.
I would say about the ATR and these performance turboprops in general, I call it performance turboprop
Yeah,
because a turboprop can be like a light twin or even a single engine high performance turbine.
yeah,
Is that it's kind of between a rock and a hard place in that when you fly a jet, like say the 737-600 or the Embraer 190 for 1 hour, it doesn't feel like much because you're covering a lot of distance. Um,
yeah,
but and when you fly a little puddle jumper such as a Cessna 172 or I wouldn't say the Caravan, but maybe like a twin engine, a Seneca or something like this. It also is okay for an hour because you're flying low and slow. Do you remember the low and slow club in Verona days?
do remember the low and slow club.
Andy Flight Sim. Um,
Yeah,
but the in between is it's kind of a grey area where you're flying this Caravan or the Cessna Caravan C208B and the ATR and such, where they're flying at like flight level 200, and so you're not that low to the ground. You're not getting the stimulus of the ground,
yeah,
and at the same time you're not covering much distance. So that's kind of why it can get quite boring quite quickly.
yeah. But that doesn't mean it's going anywhere.
No.
And in fact, it is going to be staying. I'm going to show you guys the previews that I've made for, if you can all see my screen. So this is the preview for the Verona ATR. This is the bird that's supposed to go on the tail. And again, right now, we are planning to put it into Madagascar, Ghana, and Kenya. So it should be nice for that. And for Stratusjet, as you know, we have two liveries for Stratusjet. We have the white one, we have the blue one. And the ATR is going to be fantastic for operations within Greece. Greece has a lot of tiny little islands that are really difficult to get a jet in and out of, but the ATR, especially the 42, gets in and out of there really easily, really quickly. So I'll show you the blue ATR. That's the plan for that. And the white one as well. So this is what they're going to look like. Again, I do not have the facilities big man, for repainting the ATR right now. Primarily because I'm a bit retarded with 3D Painter, but they will be coming very very shortly. So yeah, so these are the ATRs. They are still planning to come in, and we will of course advise you all when they do. But as I said, for the Stratusjet stuff, expect the tiny little islands within Greece. That's going to be really fun because, again, that's going back to almost the low and slow. You're going to be doing, 8,000 feet over the ocean, coming into these tiny little islands. I think it's going to be great fun, and hopefully you guys all think the same.
Matt was intimating that the ATR is difficult to slow down. It's a bit too slippery. But I always understood that a turboprop should be very easy to slow down.
It is. And in fact, I wouldn't recommend it, but you can enter beta range in the air in a prop,
Right, and it's within
including the
the
ATR.
operational manual, or is it within the
Maybe.
limits of the
I don't know.
aircraft? I don't know.
I, from what I understand from speaking to guys that I've flown with who used to fly the ATR,
Yeah,
if you put the props to 100%
right.
forward, and then you slam the throttles back, it
Yeah,
slows down really quickly.
yeah. It's like
They
putting a
said that you
wall
could
up.
come in. Yeah, they said you could be doing 250 knots until like 6 miles.
Yeah,
Put the condition levers full forward, pull the throttle off, and it just slows down, and you're stable by 1,500 feet.
yeah.
So that's that. The model in Microsoft Flight Sim has a little bit of a ways to go, but I think it's got a lot of promise, as does the next aircraft that we're about to talk about. But yeah, so that's that.
Okay.
Anyone who does not have the ATR and you want to try it out, I highly recommend it. It is actually quite fun once you get the hang of it, because it's somewhere between an Airbus and a Boeing, more Airbus than Boeing, but it's kind of quite rewarding when you do get the hang of it, and it's really easy to make a nice landing in it. So those
And
of you who are looking for the
it's the first aircraft that Microsoft have released under this sort of professional series, isn't it? What do they say?
expert
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 series.
series,
So, I
yeah,
mean, we've seen some of the other products they come out. They helped develop, I think, the Antonov and a couple of other, obviously, all the stuff from Asobo. They didn't.
the
No,
the
Indie
Antonov
Builds. It was Indie Builds, wasn't it?
355
Sorry.
rebuilds, yeah,
But
as was
the
the A310.
even the okay, just go back to the other Asobo aircraft. Oh, that's just someone at my door there. I'm very sorry. The other Asobo
Is
aircraft.
it the God of Fortune?
It is not the God of Fortune. It's
Has
this
the
man
God of
with
Fortune arrived?
the fire extinguisher. I have to leave you to it, but do talk about the Expert series.
Okay. So, as you know, the Expert Series has been launched by Microsoft just to try and sort of compete a little bit with the Phoenix and the whatchamacallit, the PMDG stuff. Again, it does have some promise, but there's still how can I put this? There's still targeting the more gamery market rather than the sort of the hardcore simmers. Even though I wouldn't say we're hardcore, and we do kind of fly the aeroplanes like we stole them, but they're more. It's more focused towards that side of the market than the professional simmers. But as I said, it does show real promise, and we're looking forward to developing the operation more with that aircraft. So the last thing with the Stratusjet stuff, we are looking at, as I'm sure many of you know, Dave is a former Embraer uh, pilot and former skipper on the 170, 190. So he has gotten this Flight Sim Studios Embraer 175 to sort of test, and he'd said that it does have a little bit of work to go, but it could get there eventually. And I think both of us are really liking both of us quite like the 190, 170. And again, we think that it would be a really, really nice inclusion to the fleet. To sort of enable operations again into those smaller airports that can't too small for a 737-600, but a little bit too far away to operate the ATR into. So the Embraer 170 right now is the 175, and David's actually sort of testing that now. Let me see if I have a screenshot of the Embraer 175, and I can show you exactly what it looks like right now. It has been painted in the Stratusjet white livery, so it's not fully painted per se. But if I can find it, and this is the bit where I'll not be able to find it. There's a BA. Okay, apparently not. Maybe I'll just down the one that Dave sent earlier. 1 second. So, okay, good. Oop, shit. Image save. Okay. Come on, where is it? Good, fantastic. Well, I can't show you it because I can't find the picture and it's not saving for it. But either way, the 170 is we're thinking about it. And again, if you guys can let us know whether you would like to see that included in the fleet at some point, we'd love to hear your guys' opinion. It would enable us for Stratusjet especially to open up some more smaller bases such as Southampton, Newquay perhaps, and even London City on the 170 and 190. But again, let me know what you guys think, and we'll proceed with that. So, until Mr. Butler gets back, because he did have a talking point that he wanted to talk about, there are a few really cool little bits of news that I wanted to regarding the general flight sim stuff that I wanted to share. So first things first, we have the fly-by-wire A380. Now, as some of you know, I will be flying the A380, well, starting my type rating at least at the end of August. So I'm really looking forward to this this add-on. But they've just previewed the WingFlex. Now, a lot of the airliners in flight sim, the WingFlex is okay, but it can be a little bit juddery. But the 380 has a certain way, and even from this video, you can just see the sort of girth, if you like, of the wing, and how it does take some time to change the shape and return back to what it needs to be during turbulence. And I think this looks really nice. When it does come out, I would love to see it go in and out of Manston. But only time will tell. The guys have been in development for quite some time. So hopefully it's going to be really good. But yeah, that's for the 380. And again, really looking forward to that. Second thing I want to talk about was some of us have the Phoenix A320 for Microsoft Flight Simulator. Now, they just put an update out regarding a public update talking about the new IAE engines, which have been missing since the beginning, and they're changing all the PFDs and displays and the lighting model as well. So it's going to look really, 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 really good. Still no news on the Sharky boys. Unfortunately, I would love to to see the Sharky boys back in Microsoft Flight Simulator, but for now, your only option uh, in terms of flying a Sharklet equipped Airbus A320 is going to be within P3D, which isn't exactly a bad thing. P3D still has its place, but yeah, I'm just really looking forward to flying the Phoenix with Sharklets. I'll be very honest with you. From a professional point of view, the Phoenix A320 is truly like amazing. Like the amount that you can do with this aircraft, I'm sure some of you know, you can actually pull circuit breakers, and it will, not all of them, but a good amount of them, and it will actually affect the system, which is mind blowing. You know, the last time I had a PPC, I actually took the Phoenix 320 and I read through the notes. And one of the notes said we're going to get flap 2 system fault, which is fine. It's fine. We've got another flap 1 system. But because of that, because we had a fault with I think it was FAC2. If FAC2 is in op, then we have, or any computer, flight control computer is in op, then we cannot have a flap system fault. So again, we had to go up and pull the circuit breaker. So having that in the sim and be able to sort of look back and immediately know, I'm looking on 121 VU and I'm looking da 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 da. It was really 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 cool. So yeah, really looking forward to Phoenix's updates, and who knows, maybe we'll chuck a couple of the IAE equipped engines in just for a little bit of difference. I do know guys who have flown the IAE engines, and they say that in the heat they are absolute dog shit, and they do take some time to start up, but they're really powerful. They idle really high. And I think they look really cool as well. So there's that. Looking forward to that with the Phoenix 320. Next one is Just Flight. Now, as some of you know, Just Flight are coming up with the Fokker 28, and in addition to the Fokker 28, not super interested in the Fokker 28, but in addition to the Fokker 28, they are developing a Fokker 100 and a Fokker 70. Now, I love this aeroplane. It is an amazing, amazing piece of equipment, and I think it's going to go really, really, really well, especially for Verona. So we're hoping to bring the Fokker 100 and the Fokker 28 into Verona when it does come out. But again, as some of you know who were flying or living around Manston back in the day, you'll know that EU Jet actually used to have 5 aircraft based in Manston, and they were all Fokker 100s. So having an EU Jet Fokker 100 back in the sim would be amazing, and I'm really, really, really looking forward to seeing where Just Flight does go with this aircraft.
Yeah. Sorry,
I
guys.
will be following it on. Hello. I will be following it on very closely, and again, once the 100 and the 70 do come back or get released, sorry, I guarantee you now that they will make their way into at least the Verona fleet. So yeah, there's that. And last thing, actually two more things. First thing, we're talking about the Aerosoft A330. Now, again, some of us, Hayden, uh, are really, really, really excited to have this aeroplane. I know I am. I'm actually planning that once this beautiful, beautiful machine. The A330 is going to be the main long hauler for Stratusjet. Now, as you know, we have bases in Stansted, we have bases in Bristol, we have bases in Tallinn, Athens, uh, Alicante. And I think the A330 is going to be amazing in Bristol and in Stansted. We do know that the A330-300 has in fact operated in real life out of Bristol, although it was Aer Lingus and it was only hopping across to Ireland, so it probably wasn't particularly heavy. But once this model does come out, we will obviously do a little bit of flight testing.
I'm pretty sure
And
Thomas Cook was a regular with the A330 into Bristol.
330-200. The
Okay.
model that Aerosoft are coming out with is the 300,
All right.
which is a little bit heavier.
Yeah.
But either way, we will find a way.
We
You
will
know,
find it. We'll find a way.
we'll find a way. So yeah, the 330 is coming. Hopefully, it's coming very shortly, and really, 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 really looking forward to having this. It'll be the first proper long hauler in MSFS, so you can bet your bottom dollar that I will be doing quite a few Stratusjet flights once this thing does get released. And the last thing with the general flight sim news is, as I had mentioned earlier, we fly to Brest. Now, I don't know many people who don't like Brest. It's
I
quite
love
quick.
Brest.
I love Brest. It's about 50 minutes. You come off immediately at the runway. The terminal's right there, and it's just a really nice little airport. Right now, we're using the France VFR scenery. Payware, but again, people are developing all the time for Microsoft Flight Simulator, and there's another Brest coming. Pilot Experience does have some really, 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 really good sceneries, and to be very honest with you, as soon as this one is released and available, I will be acquiring it in the sim. Brest is actually one of my favorite flights within the ManstonOnAir network. Brest, Rotterdam, because they're really quick. You can just get there and back. It's not going to take up too much of your day.
Bounce there and bounce back.
Bounce there and bounce back. Touch down in Brest, spend a little bit of time in Brest, and come back.
It's a very nice place to spend some time.
It is a very nice place to spend some time. Beautiful weather.
Great
But
scenery.
again, great scenery. But again, the other great thing with Brest, quite like Manston, is that Brest is almost on a headland, which means that you're going to get beautifully nice weather, but you're also going to get the really shitty weather, which as I tried to do the what is it, the yaw controls
Shared
with
cockpit.
Gary the other day, the shared cockpit. Manston is quite blustery, but most of the time. So
But that is what keeps it fun.
But that's what keeps it fun, and it adds to the challenge. And Brest does sort of have those same
Attributes,
qualities. It's a very small airport. Attributes, yeah.
It's also
yeah.
For France, it's a third airport. I know in real life that obviously there are some airlines that fly there, but the majority of people in that part of France will actually travel, especially now they've banned the domestic flights, will actually travel to Paris to travel abroad. So it's an underserved airport, just as Manston is and was. Well, as much as we hoped it would be more, but and I'm sure it will be eventually. But it shares a lot in common with Manston in that respect.
Yeah. So again, Brest is coming back again, even though it's already in the sim, but it'll come back looking better. So yeah, really, really, really looking forward to another Brest. Okay, Mr. Butler, you wanted to talk about some other stuff.
Other stuff.
I sort of skipped the topic for you.
Oh, okay.
But the floor is yours.
Well, I mean, I just had a little whirl of the Embraer E-Jet E175 from Aerosoft in Microsoft Flight Simulator. And thank you for your help with that. It was particularly underwhelming, I have to say. I'm quietly confident, though. I've flown the aircraft in real life, of course, and I have a couple of thousand hours experience on it. I know and love it quite well, and unfortunately, the systems are just not there. And I even said to Dan, just as we started this show, just before, I said, do you know what? Believe it or not, I actually feel like the Field Air systems on the Field Air Embraer E-Jet is perhaps more real to life than even this Aerosoft model, and that's saying something because the Field Air one is a hunk of junk.
That's being very polite.
It is. So I have to say that of all the Embraer E-Jets, and in fact I would say of all the Embraer add-ons for any flight simulator, the best rendition I've found so far is in X-Plane. I can't remember who makes it now, but they do a one.
X-Crafts, I think.
Yeah, X-Craft E170. That's probably the best. There are some things about the Field there that are redeeming, but it doesn't fly very well at all. This one, it's got promise. I'll give it that. The modelling looks quite nice, actually, and it doesn't fly terribly, but a lot of the functions are not right. The autopilot is not right. The FMS is not laid out properly. There's lots of missing settings, even down to the takeoff data set, the thrust settings that you set for takeoff. Even that isn't modelled. So it's very disappointing. I have to say, if I wouldn't recommend buying it at this stage, but maybe I am. The reason I am quietly confident is because Aerosoft have said that they will continue development on the project and they will continue to improve it. So it's one of these newfangled ideas on the internet, which I will speak about the internet as a wider whole in a minute, where a lot of developers are deciding to release their products before they're actually ready for market in order to start getting revenue in. So that I don't know whether they can fund their project before it's actually ready to be released, which I think is a net negative for everyone, really. Why should the paying customer be basically the beta testers or the beta testers for your product? Just do your job properly and release a proper product for market. So it's a bit disappointing, but as I say, looking forward to improvements as that moves along. So I
agree.
Reversing all the way back up, I realise that we've got actually a fair few new members coming on board, and two of them are with us in the chat right now. Both Gary and James, welcome. We've been having a little discussion over the past few days about what it is that makes ManstonOnAir different, and it's very easy for us to say that we are all very passionate about Manston and the ManstonOnAir project, and that London Manston Airport on the coast was a closed airport, and we're all looking forward to it being reopened. Of course, we're all Kent boys, me and Dan, and a couple of the other guys. But I have to say, much to our not disappointment, but much to our dismay, not everyone on this earth shares the same amount of passion as we do for the Manston Airport. But what I would say is that
especially the green people.
But what I would say is that something that Gary actually brought to our attention when he joined us a couple of days ago is that we offer something that isn't just about Manston or the airport or anything in particular, other than actually we are a community. And we have formulated this community on the back of a virtual airline that we joined about 16 years ago, 15, 16 years ago. I think if we're counting around that era, called Verona.
That's dating us a little bit.
It is actually, yeah. Verona Aviation. And that back then,
Yeah.
I mean, there weren't as many virtual airlines, but virtual airlines were still a thing. But I mean, we're talking 13, 14, 15-year-old us joining this little virtual airline. And the one thing that made Verona stand out from the crowd was the openness, the friendliness, and the ability to the openness to people of all backgrounds and experience levels, and to open you with open arms, and a community that really cared about each other on an individual basis. And I think that we learnt something there, because we both of us later went on to other VAs, the likes of BA Virtual, and dipped our feet in other VAs that a more realistic experience, and
Take themselves very seriously.
yeah, take themselves very seriously indeed. But there's a time and a place for those. So I don't judge people for going there and wanting to try that out. But what I realised, and I think Dan will probably agree with me here, is having gone and seen both sides of that coin, having been part of a community that is small enough, actually nimble enough, but also friendly enough that we make a real effort to get to know the personalities involved, that you're not just a number, you're not just another pilot who has to abide by a set of operational procedures or fly once a month or however many times it is that they want you to fly. And if you don't, my goodness me, I've seen some of the emails from BA Virtual in recent days that are being sent out by some of their management team. I won't say his name, but he likes to fly 777s. The sort of attitude and management corporate-esque looking down on you as a member. You're almost like an employee, you know. You're their with for want of a better word, you're their bitch, and you work for them. What we offer,
just like in the real world.
just like in the real. So it is a real world experience. I give them that. I said we cannot replicate that, nor would I want to. Not in a million years would I want to replicate that. But what we can offer is the same thing that we experienced at Verona Aviation when it was Verona Aviation. And something that Tim did very well is engendering this quality of friendliness, of openness, of being open to all backgrounds and experience, and bringing you up. You know, if you wanted help, it was there. If you wanted to just get on and fly by yourself, you could do that. There was no judgment. You know, it was the world's your oyster. You can do what you like in it. And I'm very keen here. I've always said since the beginning of the ManstonOnAir group, I've said that we want guys to come here and fly what they want to fly when they want to fly it within reason. And we also want to welcome
not taking 737-900 ERs into fucking Florence.
No, maybe not. Maybe that's pushing it.
Mr. Hayden.
But in fairness, he did prove that it's doable. So all fairness to him, he didn't break it.
Very true. Not that we know of.
No. So yeah, I mean, there's that, and also, as I say, catering to all experience levels. And on that note, I think we've done a relatively good job of catering for relatively new experienced guys with little to some experience. We still need to work perhaps on this training program. Maybe there isn't.
Look, we had it.
We had it. We got rid of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it was a lot of upkeep and there wasn't any interest in it.
Yeah. But again, now that sorry to put you on the spot, Gary, but now that we have someone who has come and asked,
yes,
you know, for that help, for that instruction, you know, it is genuinely our pleasure to sort of help facilitate that learning, so that you're confident enough to sort of, you know, fly wherever you want, whenever you want, whatever you want.
Yeah.
You know, not just, you know, grab a Cessna, do a couple of barrel rolls, and smash it into the ground. But you know, people who, again, Gary, you should see some interest in almost perfecting themselves and their performance within the sort of the sphere of flight simulator and aviation. And it is so nice to see people that enthusiastic about a field that many of us just love so much. I mean, Dave and I, I'll tell you the story of how Dave and I first met. I was sitting in a library at school. I was year 7, Dave was year 8, sitting in a library. You were in the library, and then I came, and you were looking at pictures of airplanes, and I came up behind it and I went, "Oh, that's an Antonov." A little bit higher pitched, but oh, that's an Antonov 225. So, and then we just got talking, and it's been our passion from such a relatively young age, and to have people come in with that passion again, and the drive and the willingness to learn and do, make themselves better in this context is fantastic. So we will always provide that training or help when it's required
to those that want it. Yeah, we're not here to force it on you. I must stress that. But those that want it, we will provide it, and we will provide it willingly, and we will provide it free, gratis, and absolutely give our all for you. And it will be our pleasure to do that. So that's for anyone that joins. That's for anyone that joins, of course. Yeah, that's one. I would say that's one of the things that sets it apart. But what I was going to get on to was, as much as we have, as I say, we've established quite well, I think, an openness towards people with sort of lesser to say middle experience. We haven't really, in saying that we should cater to all experience levels, we haven't catered that much to the greater experience levels. And we're talking to the guys perhaps that want that more in-depth experience, that more realistic experience. We're never going to compete with the likes of BA Virtual. I'm not here to say that we will. But what we can do is give it our best. I don't even want to give it my best, honestly. I've seen what that's become. But what we can do is bring something to the table in that we have real world experience. It's not just Dan and myself who work in aviation in real life. There are other members of the management group and beyond who have real world flying experience. So we're working on manuals. We're working on airfield briefs and checklists. Something I'm putting together as well for all the aircraft types and. Operational manuals. So there will be a loose standard operational procedure for the group. If you want to follow it. If you want to follow it. And that's the point. We're not going to enforce anything. It's there if you want it. And I'm very keen for it to still remain a case of fly how you want to fly when you want to fly, and hell, if you want to drink a beer when you're flying, not in real life, but on virtually, be my guest. Have a few beers. Yeah. Couple of bevies and go land your 737, I'm not the one to judge. So that's something I wanted to highlight. The other thing I did want to mention was talking about how the internet has changed. So when we joined Verona all those 15 years ago, the internet was a lot more actually fractured and decentralized in that nowadays, let me put it, it's easier to talk about today than it was back then. Nowadays, you've got your big corporate organizations, your Facebooks of the world, Twitter, Discord, YouTube, GitHub, whatever it is, these main big platforms that everyone is signed up to. Not everyone, but most people are signed up to. And within those platforms, you have the little communities that you dip and dive into. And so when you get an individual platform or community or forum that is bespoke made for an individual website, you end up with people saying, why should I sign up for that? You know, it's just another service I have to sign up for this individual platform. Why can't they be on Facebook? Why can't they be on Discord? Why can't they be on, YouTube?
Instagram.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Instagram, whatever it is. Why have I got to sign up for? Oh, I'm not going to bother with that. I'm just going to carry on with my day. And I can't understand it, because why should you? It's ease of use, right? Ease of access. But on the flip side, the side effect that has had is that back in the day, on the Verona days, Verona Aviation, there used to be a forum, used to be a central website where everyone used to go to. And when you went to the Verona website, you were part of that community, and your focus was on that community. And it wasn't about the wider platform. So when you're on Discord, for example, I can't count how many servers I'm a member of, probably like 50 plus. And I'm probably only checking like 3 or 4 of them very often. One of them, obviously, a ManstonOnAir group every day, several times a day. But for a lot of our members, I can imagine that they're also a member of 50 groups on Discord. And ManstonOnAir group may not be their number one top priority to be checking every day. And I don't blame them for that. But the problem we have then is, how do we float above the parapet? How do we plant our flag and stake our flag and say, this is us, we're here, we're not queer, but we're very happy to be here. And sort of bring people in all the time and continue to bring people back. And that's something that I think is a struggle with the modern day internet. And one point I will make to prove that is, both you and I will remember all the names of the Verona guys of old: the Sergio Kaufmans, the Klaus Hulemans, the Tim Claytons, the Phillips, the Haydens. The list goes on.
Because it was a very small, tight-knit community.
And because everyone had a personality. You knew people's personalities. You had an idea of who everyone was. So what I think is important, and who to avoid, so Mr. Flightsim, for example, and John. But what I think is important is that we sort of try to engender that back again. Even though we're not having a decentralized platform, we still have to use Discord, we still have to use Twitch, we still have to use YouTube, and so on. But if we can really bring our own personalities into it, if we can say, hey, I'm David Butler, I'm here. I love airplanes. I grew up since I was 6 years old. I've always wanted to be a pilot, and I went to study to be a pilot, and I've been flying for airliners for 10 years or whatever.
I love how you started that with, I used to love airplanes. I wanted to be a pilot from when I was 6 years old, and now I became a pilot. And
exactly. But I mean, if we so I actually think we should just start now. So I mean, Dan, why don't you introduce yourself, and then I'll go about myself, and then we'll talk about some other members of the team.
Yeah. All right. So Daniel, 27, 28 in just under a month. Basically, I wanted to be a truck driver. I wanted to be a truck driver back in the day, and I wanted to drive lorries for Eddie Stobart. So that was like the first thing I wanted to do. And then 2003 we came on a family holiday to Dubai, of all places. And I thought, you know what, I quite like this. So that's when I got bitten by the bug, and from then on it was completely obsessed with aeroplanes and aviation and everything. So yeah, it became one could almost say that it became an obsession. Everything that I did in school, let's say from GCSE you have the opportunity to do a humanity. You have to do history or geography. I chose geography because history has nothing to do with aviation. It's going to do nothing for me in the future. You could choose to do a basic science, or you could do triple science. I said, well, triple science, I definitely need physics to go into, so I'm going to go do triple science. So every decision that I made led up to with the end goal, if you like, of becoming a pilot. And then in 2014, at the tender age, just turned tender age of 19 years old, I moved to Dubai to pursue that dream. I was accepted onto a couple of MPL programs. MPL is multi-crew pilot license, and along with those courses, you are guaranteed. Part of the MPL is you are guaranteed a certain number of hours flying a certain aircraft type. So Flybe used to do it for the Dash 8, EasyJet still do it, and British Airways still do it for the 320 stuff. British Airways is sort of in and out, and as is EasyJet's as well. It sort of sometimes runs, sometimes doesn't run. But for me, it was Air Arabia. So I did flight school. Took me a little bit longer. I think I was a bit too young, a bit too stupid. I failed the first time around in the ATPL theory. And when I say failed, I ran out of exam sittings. I didn't fail. But I had to go back to the beginning, and I said, you know what, this is my last shot. This is what I want to do. So I pushed ahead, passed everything, went for core flying, did the type rating, blah, 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 1,500 hours with Air Arabia out of Sharjah. Well, I flew 900 hours with it, 1,100 hours with Air Arabia out of Sharjah. And then that 1,000, just under 1,100 was in March 2020. From then on, I didn't fly for 6 months. That's the point. And Dave as well. You weren't flying much.
I was out of flying for 6 months, yeah, for a number of reasons, but that was one of them.
Yeah. Enjoy your Bev. And during that time, we decided to start ManstonOnAir, and then I started flying again and came back to flying and reached 1,500 hours and landed back. My last flight was Moscow in the jump seat. I didn't even get to fly on my last flight, and it was a training flight. And my roster was wiped, and they said, "Come to the office, give us your company ID. No contracts available. Take care. Bye bye." So instead of giving up, and because I could have very easily just gone back to the UK, sat around on my ass for 6 months and whatever. I said no. I had the opportunity to become an SFI, with a synthetic flight instructor, with my former academy. And in fact, Air Arabia, the training department, actually recommended me to Alpha to become an SFI with them. So I did that for about 6 months. I still have the rating until the end of the year, and then it'll go away because I'm not allowed to do SFI and flying at the same time because of company policy. But still, I've had that experience. I have like 200 hours of sim instruction or something. And then back to Air Arabia Abu Dhabi, where I will be going in about, what time is it now? About 2 hours. I'll be starting the long drive to Abu Dhabi to operate Alexandria. So that's going to be a long night. And then I'm headed to Emirates to fly the 380 in August. So that's me. I like planes. I don't know if you can tell, but I like planes. These are three of my 7 model cabinets. I actually don't have enough space for all of them. I probably need to sort of get on that. But yeah, so I like planes a lot, and I'm it's really nice being able to come home after a long day of flying and fly virtually. Because when I come home from flying, I'm very tired. I want to be, I don't want to fly where they want me to go. I don't want to go to Chittagong. I don't want to go to Trivandrum. I don't want to go to Dhaka. I want to go to Edinburgh, and I want to fly a 737, and I want to fly out of Manston. That's what I want to do, and I can fly how I want, when I want, and that's the whole point. That's why we love our simming. But yeah, so that's pretty much me. I'm a bit of a nerd with planes, and surprisingly, even despite that, I do actually have a girlfriend, which some people might be shocked to find out. But yeah, so that's me. Dave, if you want to say something, and then what we'll do is, I'm thinking, if you guys in the chat want to, we can then open it up, and if you guys want to introduce yourselves as well,
very good idea.
we can do that. You don't have to be on the camera or anything, just with the microphone. If you've not got a microphone, that's fine. If you don't want to do it, it's fine. Yeah, so
The opportunity is
if you
there.
guys want to do that, the opportunity is there. If you want to spam a thumbs up or something in the
if you want to be on the
chat,
ManstonOnAir YouTube channel later on.
Yeah, well, at least your voice.
We will bleep you out if you say anything bad, but it's all right. The only thing I would add to that, actually, is one of the nice things about coming home and going on flight sim is for ManstonOnAir in particular, is it's not just a simulator that this journey has led us to. It's everything from building a computer, learning about computers and parts and software.
Specifically for Flight Simulator,
yeah. And overclocking, all that kind of stuff. But also, we've built ManstonOnAir from the ground up. You've done the repaints, and you've done a bloody good job on the repaints. I've done the website.
Some of them. You've done a bloody good job on the website.
It was using a platform, but I keep working on it. And what else? We have made the SID stars. One of the challenges with Manston is that it's an airport that doesn't exist. So you have to build it up from scratch. You have to get the scenery. You have to get the SID stars. You have to get the weather. The weather, there's no real METAR for Manston, so we've had to make a server for the weather to get the METAR. There's
no publicly available METAR.
There's no public. There is a METAR because we generate the METAR, right?
But but it's not a publicly available one.
Well, yeah,
so to speak, right?
Unless people go on the ManstonOnAir website, no.
Unless they go on the ManstonOnAir website, the fabulous ManstonOnAir website.
The fabulous ManstonOnAir website. We've made things for PFPX, performance files. We've had to think about registrations, cell cal codes, all sorts of details about the fleet. Making the route network has been a massive job in itself. Designing routes, coming up with the routes, the flight times, making the schedules work, making it for every individual aircraft. And
for ManstonOnAir,
yeah,
the schedule isn't for all of it, actually, none of us really fly the schedule.
No.
And for ManstonOnAir, you'll notice we have like 6 737-600 flights going out at exactly the same time of day.
But aside the point, though, like it's not really a point, but we have put a lot of effort into this route file, and we continue to do so every month. We're checking for compliance with the latest AirAC. And they change the airways and waypoints every month, and that takes some effort. Sometimes it's, it wasn't last month, I did something like 600 routes in 1 month, and it's a lot, especially when they're changing like the SIDS and stars into, say, Bristol, which was quite recent. All the Stratus jet flights in and out of Bristol had to be changed. The airspace over Sudan got closed down because of the conflict there. We've had to change all the routes to fly around Sudan. So all this takes effort and time. So it's not just the flying, right? So you have to be geeky enough.
Same thing with Ukraine, yeah.
The same thing with Ukraine. You have to be geeky enough and sad enough to really get your teeth into all these aspects and sort of be spinning all these bowls or plates at the same time to make a virtual airline work. And it's not until you start the process of making a virtual airline do you realize there's so much to do and so much you have to keep doing to preserve it and keep it going. But it's a passion project, and it's a project that we love, and we do it partly because we love ManstonOnAir, but partly because, we just love getting our teeth into it. So that's what I was going to say on the point that you made. You say come home and you look forward to flying virtual airplanes. It's also you come home and you look forward to upgrading your PC. You look forward to making a new repaint. You look forward to new scenery. It's everything. So. The thing about flight simming is it is not just the simming itself. In fact, the experience is also, do you remember, guys, back in the FSX days and the P3D days, how much, let's say, upkeep it would take to keep your simulator in good condition? You'd be installing sceneries, you would be trying in the sim objects folder different things, you'd have to update the AirAC for different aircraft. It was just a big hassle, and it still is. You spend a lot of time before you actually fly getting the simulator to work, whether it's drivers, whether it's updates, whatever it is. It's a passion project. It really is. It's not like gaming where you can just jump in with a controller and start playing. It's going to take time to set up your flight. It's going to take time to do the flight planning. I've got some plates right here. Even from today, I was just doing some circuits into Dubai. So the whole thing is it's all engrossing. So
and we enjoy it.
So we'd enjoy it. So to introduce myself, very very briefly, if I can, because I know Gary has to go. I grew up. I was 6 years old when I knew I wanted to become a pilot, and I got the bug basically from my grandfather, who was a avionics engineer in the RAF. So he didn't actually fly in the RAF, but he got a PPL out of the RAF, private pilot's license. So later on, he managed to get his own aircraft. I'm very fortunate to have a share in his own airfield. And when I was young, he used to take me flying in his. Well, I think it was either a Robin DR400, or what's the French version of that? The with the bent wings.
Yeah. But he took you flying in a
French
airplane?
Jodel.
Right.
So yeah, I used to go flying in the French aircraft. Later on, he also had a Kit Fox, and because he had a share in this airfield, the next door neighbours all flew as well. So there was a Robin DR400 that I also flew. His next door neighbour, who was an airline pilot for Cathay Pacific, had a twin-engine Comanche, Piper Comanche, a Piper Cub, and another Piper, an old Piper, 30-something, I want to say 31 or 28, not PA-28. I'll come up with it another time, but it was an old tail-dragging Piper. And as I say, my granddad finished on the Kit Fox before he unfortunately, on landing, the wind caught it on the tail and it flipped up on its nose. He survived that accident, walked away from it, but it spooked him enough that he stopped flying, and he was getting old anyway. He didn't want to continue on with his medical. So at 6 years old, I was taken up, and I just got the bug. And of course, going on holiday all the time as well, I just loved the flight was the favourite part of the holidays, as I'm sure it was for you, Dan. The flight was a destination itself, as much as a journey. So from a very young age, that's what I wanted to do. I had a little bit of let's say, a divergence, or I was drifted off slightly during my teen years. I was into music. I liked DJing. I did some radio work. I really love radio, by the way. I did an interview today with Emirates, and one of the questions that I prepared for it, they said, if you weren't a pilot, what would you do? And I said, I would love to be working in radio, is what I would say. But I set up a small business as a mobile DJ, doing stuff like parties, events, the 21st, christenings, weddings, that kind of thing, which was okay. It saw me through my teen years. And then later on, at the tender age, again of 18, just out of sixth form, I went off to Oxford Aviation Academy in Oxford. and did their integrated ATPL course, which is all of about 16 to 18 months. The 6 months ground school in Oxford, 6 months in Arizona doing the fair weather flying, basically on the single engine PA-28 and then the twin engine Seneca PA-34. Got me the CPL by the time I got back to the UK, and then I did the instrument rating, the IR, in the UK on the Seneca. Then finished off with the MCC Jock on a 737-400 simulator, which shows its age now, of course. But as I finished 2014, and then I went for a few interviews. I struggled a bit because the benefit, what Dan did with his MPL in a way, is there is a slight difference between trying to get a job before you've spent all the money on the training and trying to get a job when you're competing with hundreds of other candidates who've spent a lot of money on their training. The competition, although there is competition on both sides of that sphere, the competition for people who've already got real money and skin in the game is so fierce. So especially to gain that first job, it was tough. So I ended up getting a job with a small little airline called BMI Regional, which was a subsidiary once of British Midland, which then had gone already. BMI Baby had gone as well, but the only profitable part of BMI was BMI Regional. And I flew the Embraer 145 and Embraer 135, a small 50-seat regional jet with jet engines at the back of the aircraft. For about 18 months, I flew that hunk of junk around the UK and beyond. I did some time we did some ACMI work, charter work in Sweden, in Tallinn in Estonia, and in Munich in Germany. But it was predominantly, obviously, a British airline. And then I managed to get a job with infamous British Airways City Flyer based in London City, which was great because I was able to come closer to home. I was based in Bristol with BMI and with BA. I obviously from Kent originally, so commuting to London was a lot easier for me. And I flew the slightly bigger, but not much, Embraer 170 and 190, which I have to say is a much better aeroplane than the 135 and 145. It's modern, it's sleek, and it goes like shit off a shovel when it needs to. It has great performance, and it's the perfect aeroplane for London City. Until the A220 and the new E2s came along, but it was the perfect aeroplane. And I still say, for its operation and what they were doing with it there, it was the perfect product. We took 98 seats on the 190, which was slightly less condensed than the full 190 size that they used elsewhere in the world. But that meant that we were able to take off with lower weights and get the fuel and everything out of London City, which was a short runway, and go as far as Greece, and then all the way up to places like Keflavik. See you, Hayden. Bye-bye.
Hayden.
And so very soon after that, not soon after that. After a couple of years there, I was then upgraded to captain. I dread to say I was the youngest captain in all of British Airways at that time. At age 25, and I probably spent about 9 months as captain before I decided I was going to leave for pastures new to fly something a bit bigger. I did actually have an application in with Mainline at that time, British Airways Mainline, and I was about to go for their simulator assessment. But then, of course, the COVID pandemic actually hit, and they cancelled that assessment at the same time. So, fortunately, I also had another iron in the fire with Air Atlanta Icelandic, an Icelandic airline. So it was my first non-British airline, Icelandic airline, as I say, and that was on the glorious 747-400, the Queen of the Skies. So 400 tons of metal instead of just 50 tons. So
40.
49. Come on, every ton counts at that level. It's like counting the inches, you know. but yeah, it was a little bit of a step up, I will say that. But it was also going back in a time machine because the Embraer was quite modern, whereas the 747 is showing its age now. It really is. So I got that job in January 2020, and just like you, I did the sim training, and then of course COVID hit in the April, so I didn't fly for 6 months. I started in September, and I've been flying the 747 ever since. Mostly cargo, has to be said. I've done a couple of passenger flights on it. Believe it or not, we operate some of the very last passenger 747-400s left in the world, albeit in Saudi Arabia. We're flying the Hajj flights for the Hajj pilgrimage to Mecca, which is quite an experience, to say the least, especially flying to Indonesia, which is very interesting.
I've operated some of those as well.
Yeah, I know you have. But yeah, flying cargo is great as well. I mean, I always say the great thing about cargo is that the boxes don't complain, and they don't. The problems that boxes make are much more than the problems that people make. People problems are usually difficult to solve. People problems involve emotions. People problems are just worse than box problems. So I do kind of have a preference for cargo these days. But at the same time, I've done my time here at Air Atlanta, and also on the side of, I followed Dan's footsteps. In part, I saw him do his SFI, and I wanted a piece of that because I was also at home, well, away a lot with work. One of the things with this job, I'm a contractor, so I'm away for months on end. So you'll sometimes see me in the server on Discord. I'll do a lot of flights within a couple of weeks, and then I'll be away for about a month. And that's just because I am away working for a month, and then I'll be off for a couple of weeks. That's just how my roster works. And what I wanted to do was have a job that I could do here in Dubai, where I can work on the ground and not have to be away all the time. So I did this TRI course, type rating instructor course. It was in Frankfurt actually, and I've become an instructor on the 747. So there's a simulator here in Sharjah, just up the road, about an hour away.
Yeah.
And I've done a couple of sessions there for ROM Cargo and a couple of other lesser known operators, let's say, put it nicely, in the cargo world who are flying the 747, and that keeps me busy when I'm here as well. So that's basically my experience of flying. And as I say, Dan has already said how we met each other in school, and throughout all of this, you know, we've basically maintained a virtual presence as well, a virtual flying. We just love it so much. You can't get enough in the day job, and then when you come home, you just want to do more. You know, it's a bit sad, but at the end of the day, you know, everyone's got a hobby. At least it's not drugs.
That's exactly what I say.
Yeah. Right. So that's
awesome.
Me. If anyone else would like to introduce themselves, you're more than welcome to now.
I'm just going to give Gary, you should be able to now talk. Gary, can you hear us?
His microphone's off.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I've given him the on-air role, so he should be able to speak. James is typing as well. Did you want to say something, James?
We could go to another room. We could go to the pilot lounge. I don't mind doing that with it. We can still record on that.
Okay, James doesn't want to be on the YouTube video. That is absolutely fine.
No problem at all, James.
If I give permission to on air, you should be able
It still says his microphone's off. Unless he's muted himself, he needs to unmute his own microphone, maybe.
So he's got on air. He should be able to connect, speak, and use video.
He'd like to do it like James. Okay, then that's fine. We'll do it like that. Before we finish up this video, then I'd like to quickly go through the other guys on the management team, just to introduce those guys for anyone watching this video later, because it's good to know everyone on the management team. Or I hate referring to it as management, because it's like we're looking down on people. We're not, but just guys that you can reach out to. You know, call it the team. So there's myself, there's Daniel. We're both the co-founders. Is Greg. His designation, if you like, is head of operations. And Greg's role, he dips in and out, but he's here to give us the real life connection with the real Manston. So he lives right next to the airport, which is very, very handy, and he keeps on top of everything that's going on at Manston. So he was there over this weekend. He's also going to the meetings there about the reopening of Manston, and he is, as far as I know, he's trying to put in a good name for us as well. So he's a real key asset to us, because as part of the ManstonOnAir group, we really want to have that affiliation with Manston, and he keeps our eyes and ears on the ground, so we know exactly what's going on in real life with the real Manston. We speak to him regularly about that. So he's also been somewhat helpful in talking to VATSIM, because as I said earlier, they're a big organisation to have to deal with, and as I said, I will leave it at that. But he had some involvement and was able to help arrange the SIDS and stars and actually get a dialogue open with them. So moving on, that UK it was, yeah. So Greg, I think he has a PPL, doesn't he? Private pilot's license.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
If I'm not wrong.
I won't say what his day job is, because it's not my place to do so.
No.
And as for Matt Long, Matt is just a fantastic asset. Why don't you introduce Matt?
Okay, so Matt is our in-house scenery guru. Matt started life, and he's free to correct me if I'm wrong, started life loading aeroplanes at Southend Airport on a weekend when he was like 14, 15 years old. 1 second. You're absolutely welcome, Gary. Not an issue.
Yeah, you're welcome, mate.
As I said, we do hope to continue to build on what we're doing here. But yeah, so he's sort of made his way through aviation, became a loadmaster, flying on 747s, became a ground load master as well, and moved into sort of the engineering side of aviation. We managed to poach him from X-Plane, which was a serious result in our eyes, and he's the one who is responsible for the gorgeous Manston scenery.
It's stunning.
It really is. The job that he's done is
and the custom buildings that he's made, and the textures and the designs are just second to none. I'm made up with it.
They are. Me too. And it's like flying into Manston. It's amazing. He did say that he has plans to re-release it with his own assets, which should make it more available to the wider public. But as of now, it does require some payware assets, which you will have to have said payware to be able to utilize to its fullest.
I think Gary was saying something to the tune of £100 worth of payware add-ons. It's quite a lot, but I mean,
it's a lot of money.
But for Manston, for me, it's been worth every penny, I guess. Yeah,
worth every penny.
£104.
£104, bloody hell.
Yeah.
But again, for me, considering a lot of these airports are airports that we would fly to.
Absolutely.
We
anyway.
fly to as MAG anyway.
Yeah.
And to be honest, there was only one that I didn't have. Everything else I had. So, you know, it is stunning. Stunning in every way. Not to say we also have another Manston scenery which is free for everyone.
Yeah.
Requires no custom assets, which was made
By
by
Carl.
Carl.
I've left that on the website.
And again, he has done a fantastic job, and it
Yeah.
is still available for you guys.
I think it still needs some of the assets from UK 2000, but
it does.
But most people have a UK 2000.
James is saying, I'm missing a few payware airports, but still got it to work with nothing noticeable missing, which is great. Well, fantastic. Even
Well
better.
done. Yeah.
But yeah, so we do have two sceneries available. I believe, Gary, you're using the Carl version, and that doesn't require anything other than the UK 2000 Common Library, which is freely available for everyone to download.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Gratis from the Microsoft Marketplace. So we have those two, and Matt is responsible for that. If at some point we can get Matt or Greg or someone that wants to come on and introduce themselves personally, that's completely up to them. Now you have a little bit of a background of who we are.
Yeah, there's just one more member of the team here, Lucas Hanman. Now, Lucas is a slightly younger chap of the group. He's just turned 18, legal. But, you know, where he is young, he is also very mighty. I would not underestimate Lucas. He is just the most phenomenal. He's super intelligent, and what he doesn't know isn't worth knowing. What the power that he holds in his hands is incredible. He's able to log into several accounts across the web, and able to get us access. See you later, Gary. By the way, to a lot of stuff that we wouldn't otherwise have access to. So I won't go into much more detail about his access, but he's been super helpful in getting us a lot of behind the scenes material that we have used to build up the airline. And we continue to use him, although not as much as we have been, but we continue to use him as an asset in that regard. He's perhaps a little bit of a spy for us, not only in the real life, but maybe in the virtual community. I won't say where he also resides, but let's just say he's not just in MAG. He doesn't fly for us. He's not like an active flying pilot. But because he still has a massive input behind the scenes, we keep him on board, and he's officially director of flight planning. So I do a lot of the stuff every month. I know Dan also does some routes as well. But when we get stuck, Lucas is our man that we go to, and he's very competent with getting flight plans and making things work from that point of view. So. The other thing, of course, that Lucas does is judge the monthly screenshot competition, which should be finished in about 3 hours' time, according to Dubai time. So it'll be over with very soon. So if you have any final screenshots, James, I would get them into the competition now. You can put in as many screenshots as you like into the competition. There's no rules on that, just as long as they are MAG aircraft. So that's the team.
Stratojet, Verona, and ManstonOnAir.
Yes. So I think we could wrap it up there for the YouTube event.
Yep.
Is there anything else we want to say?
Nothing that I can think of. Thank you to all of the guys who joined in and watched live, and hopefully this was successful and you'd like to see it again. So yeah.
It's something that I think we can both probably commit to once a month, because I have my laptop with me wherever I'm going. So you'll probably see me from a different hotel room somewhere else in the world, and probably with slightly worse webcam and microphone setup. But I think we're both going to be able to, even going forward in our careers in different airlines, wherever that may end up being, I think we're still going to be able to commit to at least one of these sessions a month, and maybe have a little chin wag with maybe some of the other guys as well.
Yeah. Thank you very much, James. So
yeah, thank you both, Gary and James.
One positive. Two positive. Fantastic. So maybe we'll bring this back. All right. So I guess that is the end of the Mag Show.
The Mag Show.
The Mag Show.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you all for joining in, and we will see you in the Pilot's Lounge.
All right. See ya.